Airport marking and signs provide important information to pilots during landing, takeoff, and taxiing. To avoid pilot confusion and disorientation, all airport markings and signs should be standardized. During the daily inspection, the pavement markings should be checked to be sure they are correct and clearly visible to pilots. Physical changes to pavement markings occur slowly, usually from the effects of sun and weather. Consequently, a comprehensive inspection should be performed periodically to check for peeling, blistering, chipping, and especially for rubber buildup in the touchdown zone areas. And since markings are least visible at night or when the pavement is wet, it's a good idea to occasionally perform special inspections after dark or immediately after a rain. In addition, airport signs should be checked to make sure the proper sign is in the right place, that they can be read easily, and if lighted, that all lights are working. Let's review some typical pavement markings and signs. With one exception, runway markings are always white. Since markings will vary depending on the runway category, it is important for inspectors to be familiar with the markings at their airport. For example, a typical visual runway may only have the runway numerals and a center line, but a non-precision instrument runway will also have a threshold marking. And if a runway is 4,000 feet or longer and is used by jets, it should also have fixed distance markings. And a precision instrument runway will have touchdown zone markings and side stripes, as well as the non-precision runway markings. Taxiways, which are always marked in yellow, have center lines and may also have double edge lines. The taxiway center line is extended onto the runway to provide a lead-in. Enhanced taxiway markings are intended to provide additional visual cues to taxiing pilots to help them identify the location of a runway holding position. All taxiways that intersect runways have yellow hold position lines, 2 solid lines perpendicular to the taxi center line on the holding side, and 2 sets of broken lines on the runway side. If there is a holding or run-up apron at the end of the runway, the hold position lines should run across the apron. When a runway or taxiway is closed to aircraft operations, it should be marked with a yellow cross or X. Runway thresholds are not always at the beginning of the pavement. Sometimes, landing thresholds are moved so that aircraft have more clearance over obstructions in the approach area. The proper marking of the paved area between the beginning of the pavement and the threshold will be dependent on how this area is intended to be used. The threshold is considered to be displaced if this area is still available for landing rollout from the opposite direction and for takeoffs. The paved area prior to the displaced threshold is marked with white arrows and arrowheads. If the area between the beginning of the pavement and the threshold is not to be used for landing or takeoff, the threshold is considered to be relocated and is marked with yellow chevrons, meaning that it is not available for any aircraft operations, including taxiing. But if the area may still be used for taxiing, a yellow center line is used with 4 yellow arrowheads to indicate the relocated threshold, which is marked in white. In addition to pavement markings, signs provide pilots with important information. Since most signs are located in runway or taxiway safety areas, they should be mounted on frangible couplings on bases that are no higher than ground level. Sign tether anchor hardpoints must be provided on one sign mounting leg above the frangible breaking point. One end of the tether must attach to the sign structure, and the other end must attach below the frangible point on the coupling to either one of the leg mounting bolts or an independent bolt in the mounting pad. Signs must have a minimum of 1 tether per module. For sign arrays, a tether must be used at either end. Sign inspections should include checking for readability, making sure that vegetation or other obstacles are not blocking the sign, ensuring that each sign has the correct lettering or numerals, and if appropriate, making sure all lights are working. A sign should be adjacent to every holding position, and preferably on the left-hand side. The holding position sign has a red background with white lettering, which shows the runway designation arranged with numerals relative to the respective threshold. While red and white holding position signs are the current standards, changes in Advisory Circular 150-5345-44 call for a black outline to be added to the white legend on runway signs. Consult the most recent advisory circular for complete information. A red sign with a white ILS shows the critical area for an instrument landing system. Hold position lines should also be on the pavement next to the ILS sign. The standard for informational signs that provide taxiway guidance or destination information is black lettering on a yellow background. Pilots are advised of the distance remaining to the end of the runway by signs with black backgrounds and white numerals. Let's take a look at some good and bad examples of pavement markings and signs. For example, this runway marking is neither clearly readable nor is it in good condition. But in contrast, a pilot can easily read this runway marking, which is standard configuration and standard color. This taxiway centerline could cause confusion since it was not clearly visible. But here's the same taxiway after it was repainted. Note that double edge lines have been added to the side to mark the taxiway from the adjacent apron. Occasionally, pavement marking is inadvertently omitted after construction or maintenance operations. Consequently, a special markings inspection should be performed before the pavement is reopened. In summary, during your inspection of airport marking and signs, you should be checking for standardization of color, configuration, and readability. And your sign inspection should also include the operation of lighting, the correct orientation of signs and individual sign panels, and for damage or erosion around mounting stakes or bases. Remember, airport marking and guidance signs provide essential information to visual cues to pilots during critical phases of flight, as well as during ground operations, and therefore they are important elements of any airport self-inspection program.